afternoon, everyone. Happy Monday. My name is Zina Al Sharif, and I am a field education trainer with Wella Professionals. Thank you so much for taking the time to join our live today. And today I'm going to be joined with Dana Lyseng. She is an amazing artist and an amazing businesswoman. She owns a really successful salon in Vancouver, BC. And we're going to be talking all about bringing your business back after COVID-19. I'm super excited for Dana's insight because I got tons of questions for her. So let's bring her into this live.
Sorry.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi, Dana. How are you doing?
Good. Can you hear me okay?
Yep, I can hear you great.
Okay. I'm just going to set this. I tried to have it all balanced. I'm just going to hold it. I'm just going to hold it.
Okay, that's okay. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. I know you're super busy.
Yeah, no problem.
Do you mind tell us a little bit about yourself? Give us a little introduction about you.
Sure. My name is Dana, and I've been a hairdresser for about 25 years. I have owned my own salon for 18. I live in Vancouver, and I work also as a Wella Artist through the Canadian office and the American office. Well, not right now, but normally. I'm an avid competitive hairdresser, so I do a lot of competitions for fun on the side. And I've been very focused in the last 7 years about growing my business. I have a staff of about 30 people here, and it's just all focused on business right now during this time.
Yeah, for sure. So how has COVID affected your business?
So I think for myself, because I have a fairly large salon, it's affected all aspects of my business. It's mainly because I have a 14-chair salon with a 4-chair color bar. As I said, I have a 30 staff, but 20 of them are hairdressers. We were already open 7 days a week. I was already open 10 hours a day, and we were already having a full house every day. I had 12 to 14 hairdressers working every day. I have 5 master educator stylists in-house that were what we call a book-back artist, meaning they're taking clients during their processing times, and they're working with a personal assistant. And so all of that had to change due to capacity. I had to only use every second station in my salon. So to be very frank, for me, everything changed. I had to rewrite the hours of the business. I had to rewrite the schedules. We had to get very creative on how we were going to help hairdressers be prosperous in this time. Because part of my job as a owner is to make sure that my team is not only achieving their technical and skill goals, that they're achieving their financial goals. And so if you can't come to work in the same capacity that you did before, I have to get very creative so that people can continue to achieve those goals.
Yeah, absolutely. So that brings me to my next question then. So how did you develop a plan to reopen after lockdown? Like, did you develop a business plan?
Oh, yeah, for sure. And so to be very frank, my business never closed during lockdown. We were closed for the last 2 weeks of March. During the closure, it was like, oh, well, we'll probably be open. And then I think in the beginning of April, it became very real very quickly that we could potentially close to the summer. So I built an e-commerce store for my business, and I started to get very comfortable with Instagram, which obviously at the beginning of this video you can tell that I'm not, but and I needed to continue to sell product to keep my business open and to pay my bills. So while I was doing that and coming to my store every day, I started to just rewrite the business plan of what does this look like if I can really only have 7 to 9 hairdressers here every day as opposed to 12 to 14, and what does that look like? So yeah, I rewrote everything from the ground up, really.
Yeah.
You have to.
You had to, yeah. So are you planning for another potential closure then?
You know, I got to be honest, I don't see it. Like, I can only speak for British Columbia, but in British Columbia, our health officer opened us up in phases. Mm-hmm. And the reality is we were in phase 2. And when phase 2 opened, the amount of numbers that went up were very low. It wasn't until phase 3 opened that you really saw the numbers start to jump. So I think if there's going to be things closed, I don't think hair salons, not in British Columbia anyway, I don't think hair salons are going to be lumped into it, because I don't feel like the numbers prove that we are part of the challenge. And I think it's also important to recognize that I don't really think that it's the businesses that are the challenge. It's the customers and the clients going to the businesses that are out of line. The person who owns the bar, it's not that person that's getting drunk and making out with a stranger at 3 a.m.
Yeah.
It's the clients. And I feel, from a salon owner's perspective, I think the clients have been very accommodating and understanding and respectful, because they, out of everybody, don't want us to close again.
Yeah.
Right? They are the people that want us to stay open more than us.
Yeah, for sure. That's a
Yeah.
really good, that's actually, I liked your analogy. That was a really good point.
Right? But it's the business, it's the bar owner that's going to suffer. He's going to get closed down. But it's the clients that are behaving poorly or disrespecting the guidelines, disrespecting the rules, right? Whereas hair salons, like, you know, other than the fact that we're not serving coffee and tea and people aren't reading magazines, I think people have navigated to the new normal very, very well.
Yeah, and that was my next question, is how have you guys adapted to it? Like, how has your salon adapted to it? And it sounds like you guys have adapted really well.
Yeah, I mean, like, we were, to be very frank, there was a bunch of stuff that came in as the new normal that we were already doing. I'm sitting in the laundry room right now. We have 2 washers, 2 dryers. All of our linens were already single use. Every station already had barbicide. We were already cleaning our implements after every service. So for us, as a salon at this size, it's hard for us to break the rules, because we're so in the community. We're so in the face of the community. So if we don't follow the rules, we're called out, because we're a bigger business. So I think that my team here has done very well. The only real challenges we've had is for June, July, and August, we worked on very condensed schedules. In the beginning of August, I started to implement some plexiglass and some dividers. We again shifted from a 12-hour day model to a 14-hour day model. We started to shift our chairs. And right now, the only stress that we have from the team is people trying to get back to work full time for their own financial security, because a lot of people are living independently and they need to make the same money they made before. So that's what my focus is right now. How do I get everybody back to work, and how do I get everybody back financially stable where they were?
Yeah, exactly. Especially in a city like Vancouver.
It's expensive to live, period, in Canada, but it's very expensive to live in Vancouver. So for some people, they had a partner that their job was not in jeopardy. For some, two partners, their jobs shut down. For some people, they had to stay on the CERB because of school issues with children, or some people are living independently and they don't have a partner. So yes, the CERB was very helpful, but it's still, in Vancouver, where you might be paying $1,800 or $1,900 a month in rent or mortgage, it's just not enough. So I'm just very focused on making sure that my team financially feels safe and secure, so that they can feel that their future is here, right?
That's great. Yeah. So did you guys change your service menu at all after COVID? Like, do you guys have COVID pricing?
No, we don't.
Okay.
I don't believe in that. We definitely had a price increase before we opened. We definitely went through a price increase for sure, which would have happened in April anyway. Mm-hmm. So my 2 times of the year that we do price adjustments is April and November. It would have happened anyway. So what we did was we extended our service times. So now, if let's say you had a haircut that would normally be a 60-minute time slot, it went into a 75-minute time slot. So we could give the guest time to enter and exit the salon without the next guest or the previous guest being in their way. Mm-hmm. So we're kind of calling that an anti-congestion time. We also then made sure that that extra time is designed for the guests to see that the chair, the table, the tools have been properly disinfected. So in justification of a longer service time, we created more expensive service pricing, right?
Yeah.
So instead of it being a COVID charge, I want it to be something that falls in line with the length of the service. If the service is longer, therefore the prices are longer. which is natural in all hairdressing. We would have had price increases in April anyway. And I think that in the world of business, if the cost of my business goes up, the cost of joining my business goes up. The cost of my business is based on time and product. So I think to add a COVID charge and something that might have to go away, or something that might have to be realigned when you realize what the real, like it's only now in November that you're really looking at P&Ls and income statements that really show you the cost of that elongated time, the cost of the extra disinfectant, the cost of the plexiglass. So I think to come up with a cost back in May, it probably wouldn't have been right anyway. So yeah.
That's a good point. Yeah, that's a really good point that it may potentially go away. So you'd have to
Maybe.
adjust, hopefully.
Well, yeah, and then you wouldn't want to take that away and then have to raise your prices. So
Yeah.
I think that COVID is not the fault of the client, but the reality is if the cost of running my business goes up, the services go up. And this pandemic cost more to run my business. Therefore, the services go up.
That's a good, simple way of putting it. Yeah. So how did you differentiate your services to set your salon apart from other salons?
You know, it's funny. I read that question on there, and I got to be honest with you. I don't really do that.
Okay.
I don't really try to differentiate myself from my other businesses. I don't focus a lot of time on what other salons are doing. I focus on my team. I focus on what they need and what they want and what's making them successful and what their goals are. We do a lot of group meetings. I do one-on-ones individually with each team member every month. I think that as a business I've been open for almost 6 years in this location and at the size that I'm at, I think we've already differentiated ourselves. And I think that I don't want to be better than my neighbors. I just want to be me. So I'm just focused on what I'm doing and what makes us great and what makes my team fulfilled and feeling listened and heard and safe, because I believe that if the tribe is happy, everything succeeds from there. So I try not to focus too much on what else the world is doing. I try to focus just on what's going on inside of the salon home and how people are. Because if my team is happy and they feel good, everything's good.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that that's so important, because your team is everything.
They're literally everything. And I for the first time ever, I ran my business for 10 weeks with no team. It was a little boring. It's just the washing machine, myself, learned how to work the salon software system, which I didn't know how to work, and got really cozy with the POS machine. And
nice. It sounds very productive.
It's productive. I got a lot done.
So my next question for you, Dana, is how did you stay connected with your clients during lockdown? Do you feel like that really helped with your return to business?
100%. So I have on daily practice that I always do, I send out a monthly newsletter to the clients and let them know what's happening in the business. We do the same kind of thing on Instagram and Facebook. I do work with a social media company. And to be very frank, as a business owner, the social media company is the only company I did not pause during the closure. They are the company that I actually engaged more heavily for marketing and client reach and client support. So I did a newsletter every week instead of once a month and let everybody know what was going on. I was at the salon every day for 4 or 5 hours doing product sales and product purchase. So I answered all the emails. I answered every phone call. I answered every Instagram message. I just took it on as my full-time job to be the face of my business, which I am, and talk to everybody so everybody knows it's okay. This is really challenging, and it's unfortunate that the services have stopped, but the business is not closed. The business is 100% open. Come and get shampoo. Come and ask me questions. I'll teach you how to do a root recharge with the powder that we have, everything. But it was very important to me that people understood that the business was not closed. We were just not doing services at this time.
Chris Weber says, Dana's been killing it, boss babe.
Hi, Chris. He's great. He works around the corner from me. He's awesome.
That's so nice. Thanks for joining.
Yeah, such a great guy.
I think that that's really awesome that you took the time to really reach out to your clients. I think that that's so important. And I saw you on there. I saw you on the Instagram like all the time with your videos. I think that that's really great that you did that.
It's good. And to be honest, like it's funny because Chris is on here because he's like an Instagram pro compared to me. And I actually took one of Chris's classes during COVID. He did an Instagram class that me and a couple of the other team members took. And it's because I'm a bit older and because I just, I haven't been born with a phone in my hand. Instagram has been harder for me to come to, but I took the time during closure to do the to-do list of things that I never do. And learning how to be better at Instagram and reaching out to people was part of that. So yeah, it was good.
Okay. All right. So my next question is what have you done to reassure clients that they're safe coming into the salon? Because I know a lot of people, maybe not as much now, but I know a lot of people were really worried about coming back.
Yeah. So we did just like everybody, we did like a written policies. What's going to happen before you come to the salon? What's it going to be like when you get here? What's it going to be like after? I did videos. I did for the week before we opened, we did face-to-face training with all the assistants, with all the front desk team, and every single hairdresser that works here in cohorts, obviously. So it was no bigger than 6. And we retrained everybody and we did a lot of marketing about it. And then to be honest, we just showed them. Every client that came in, we were tight with those policies. And we had an opportunity, like all businesses, where people can give you a review after, and people were just mentioning it in the reviews. I felt safe. The place was clean. And then we just be consistent. It's like I believe that hair salon businesses are built one handshake and one smile and one good haircut at a time. So all I can do is just make sure that every visit is at the utmost of health and safety. And then everyone will know because that word will spread. So you just have to be consistent.
Yeah. And I think what I'm getting from everything you're saying is your communication is so great with your clients and your staff. And I think that's like probably one of the most important things is communication, which leads me
Yeah.
to my next question is how have you communicated with your staff during all of this? And I don't know about you, but I know a lot of stylists have been hesitant to go back to work or they've been nervous to go back to work. I don't know if your stylists have, because it sounds like you've just really communicated this really well with everyone. So what's going on with you guys there?
Well, as an owner in general, I've always done personal one-on-one sessions with every team member every month, like goal setting, problem solving, educationally based. It's really their time to sit with me, and I just want to make sure that they're happy, and I'm doing my job as a boss to provide for them whatever it is that they need. During COVID, that didn't stop. I did them on Zoom, obviously. And we did some really fun Zoom staff meetings where people would come on and we just and I'd let them know what's going on. This is what Beauty Council is saying. This is what WorkSafe is saying. This is what's happening right now because they want to know too. And I think because I just communicated consistently with them, that hopefully built up the trust. We did have a few people that have children that over the summer with no childcare, no summer camps, those people waited until the fall to come back, no problem. But pretty much everyone came back and we just, again, I just like with the clients, I just showed them that it's important to me and that the policies are tight, and that's just to make them feel safe because I think as long as they feel safe, they feel comfortable to do hair. There have been a few situations with clients where the client has been like, oh, wearing a mask is really fussy. I'm just going to take it off. And they might need me to come in and reassure the client that it's on or out. So, and sometimes I think those conversations are challenging for younger staff members to have a challenging conversation with a client if somebody comes in who's not well or somebody's fussy about wearing the mask. So I'm just trying to show up.
Yeah, that's awesome. Your
Yeah.
communication is awesome. I think that's so great. Corruptive Wild says, "Hi, Dana."
Hi, Veronica.
Okay, so how did you re-engage your staff and keep them motivated? Because I know a lot of people were super down through all of this, and it was hard for people to come back. And I think also like not being able to double book, some people aren't feeling so motivated from that as well. So how are you re-engaging your
Yeah.
staff?
That's a hard one.
Yeah.
So during the closure, I did posts on, we have a team Facebook page like most salons do, and Wella and lots of other distributors and product companies were doing e-education. So every week I would post what was going on and encourage people to join. I myself did a ton of education online and still am. We are still doing weekly education here at the salon. It looks a little different, but we are still doing it for our associates and our younger team members. I think that encouraging people, if they need education from me, if they're more comfortable on Zoom, we can do it on Zoom, or they can come in house before the salon opens and we can have a private session if that works for them. To be very frank, I think what people need right now to help stay motivated is more to do with mental wellness than it is to do with hairdressing education.
Mm-hmm.
And that's sort of what my focus is right now, is encouraging people to reach out and talk. We have a medical benefits package here at the salon, and people have counseling. Even myself, I've done a little bit of counseling during this because it's overwhelming what's going on in the world, and I'm anxious. And I think a lot of people that have never felt anxious before are anxious, and there's just a lot of emotional fragility in the world. So yes, we want to keep people motivated with haircuts and colors and keep people on the cutting edge. But I think at the same time, education in the sense of like, are you meditating? Are you reading a really good book? Are you taking a walk in the woods and taking time for yourself? Are you talking to a partner or a friend when you're feeling overwhelmed? Do you need to talk to me? Like, I think there's a lot of, I think the world is fragile right now. And I think a lot of hairdressers that are supposed to be patty pep talk for all their clients and be the good news of the day are having a hard time when they're getting a lot of unfortunate stories and sadness from their clients. It's a lot to take on. I had a client last week whose house burnt down during COVID,
Oh my God.
right? And it's like, I had a 4-hour session with this client where it was just the pain and suffering of losing her home. And I went home and I was like, oh my God, like I need a counseling session after that, right? So I think mental wellness is what people need to stay focused on right now to stay motivated at work.
Yeah, I think that was a really great point. Um, okay, so you've touched on this a little bit.
Okay.
So I know a lot of salons are really struggling with retail right now, and retail is
Yeah.
a huge income for any salon. So how have you used your social media to promote your retail business?
So what I've been doing, which is all new for me, because retail is, we're suffering too. We really are. I think people are being very mindful of finances right now because everything feels uncertain. So we are doing a product feature of the week where I'll do a video of a product feature in the stories of Instagram with features and benefits. We're linking that to the e-commerce site and linking it to in salon to help clients be more educated about products, more educated about their hair,
Mm-hmm.
and hopefully be able to get maybe not 5 products they like, but 1 or 2 really great products that like fit what they need right now. I think from an honest perspective, one of the challenges we see is that we have so many people working from home. They're not doing their hair.
Mm-hmm.
It's not even that they're not buying retail. It's like, well, I haven't blow dried my hair in 4 weeks and I have no meetings in person and I'm not meeting my clients in person, that everybody's kind of maybe doing the front of their hair and not the back, or putting on a dress shirt, but they're wearing pajamas on the bottom, right? So I think there's a lot of people not going out in the world, and therefore there's not a lot of people spending the time to do their hair, to present themselves to the world in the same way. So yes, we have low retail numbers, but I think it's kind of justified because people aren't, people aren't doing date night. People aren't going to shows. They're not going to the movies. They're not going to a play. They're not seeing live music. Like, I think people are feeling less motivated to do their hair. So I did a couple of tutorials and I've done some IG videos about what you might need. And so we're trying to focus on conditioners and treatments and shampoos and things that make your hair feel amazing, and more care products than maybe styling products,
Yeah,
but it's definitely an issue here too.
yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I think, yeah, you're exactly right. People aren't going out as much, and
Yeah.
they just don't need as much product.
Yeah.
So, what have you learned from this pandemic?
Um, I think I've learned a lot. And I think that if I can speak from a couple different aspects, As a business owner, I've learned more about productivity than ever before. We had a lot of team members that were working 5 days a week, that were working 8-hour shifts like a traditional hairdresser would. And we had quite a few team members. Everybody got pushed to a 10-hour day. And I had these people that were working a 40-hour traditional week that went into working 3 days a week, but 10 hours a day. And I watched people's productivity, like when you're really looking at your P&Ls, when you're really looking at how is this person doing really? We had people that went from like 70% productivity to 100% productivity.
Wow.
And being someone who's always believed that you need to be available more to take more walk-ins, to take more bookings, you need to be available for your clients, you need to work more. I mean, I'm older, so that is the generation that I grew up in. Mm-hmm. And there are a lot of people in the world that are like, I don't want to work as much and I want to have more time off. And you think to yourself, from my generation, well, how's that going to work when you're not here that much? And that is a lesson that I've really learned, where it's like all of a sudden I have people that have less availability and therefore their productivity has gone through the roof. So from an ownership standpoint, that's been an unbelievably good lesson for me. From an emotional standpoint, I think that it's very true that this is temporary. And I think I can be somebody who would naturally sweat the small stuff. And I would be somebody who would be focused on the details. And like a lot of hairdressers, focused on it being perfect and be left in that place of kind of perfectionism. And I think, you know, I'm a big Brene Brown fan. I love the teachings of Abraham Hicks. I'm really deep into a lot of that stuff and really being evolved as a person. And I think because of all of this, there's been many times where quite honestly, I've just been like, I'm just one person with two hands and we're all just doing our best to get through the day. And I think to have such high expectations of how other people behave or how you behave yourself, like it's okay to watch TV in the middle of the day because you're overwhelmed. It's okay to have some time down where, you know, doing nothing is the new doing something. And it doesn't always have to happen so quickly. It doesn't have to be perfect. Sometimes it just is the way it is because that's all you have to work with, and that's okay. So I think that I've learned also that kindness is a skill and an attribute that is highly regarded in my world. I lost my dad during this COVID, and it's been a really difficult time personally. And there's so many people in the world that just need to be kind. And I don't think as a person you ever know what's actually going on for another person. So I think if there's ever been a time just to be kind and give somebody some space if they're having a bad day or they seem a little short, I think there's a lot of people that are just barely getting out of bed and getting through their day. And I think it's a time where we can just all be so much more empathetic and so much more loving and kind to each other so that we can all get through this.
Yeah, absolutely. Those are some great lessons. You're getting lots of comments here, Dana.
I can't read and watch at the same time. This is also new for me. So
Emily Hanzek says, I'm a hair student at JCI right now, and I'm so inspired by you, Dana.
Oh, thank you.
Corrective Wild says, thank you for providing so much security for new stylists like myself during this pandemic.
Oh, that's nice. Veronica works here. She's one of the younger talent stylists here, and she works here. And I know that people have been really scared coming back to work. And I've taken that very seriously. For the month of June, the first month we opened, I actually didn't take clients for the whole month. I told my clients that they were going to have to wait till June. And I worked on the front desk, and I worked as a concierge, and I worked as a cleaner, and I worked as an apprentice, and I, did towels. And I needed to give myself that space. And that's what I was talking about earlier. Like, I needed to give myself that space to take a break from doing hair so I could just kind of make sure everything was working and be able to react to a team member who's feeling nervous or a client who's unsure and be able to make sure it works. Because I love doing hair. I could do hair. I'll do hair until the day that I'm gone. But if the business doesn't function and the team is not happy or comfortable or safe, or the clients are comfortable and they don't feel safe, I got nowhere to do hair.
Yeah.
So the doing hair as an owner had to take a step back for me, and I needed to just 100% focus on my biggest asset, which is my team.
Yeah.
They are my biggest asset. They are the most important thing in the world. Not highlights. It's just highlights and haircuts. Everybody relax.
Yeah.
It's just highlights. It's okay. But I needed my team to feel good.
Yeah, that's awesome. I admire how passionate you are about this and how much you've been there for your team. I think that's probably why you're so successful, because communication is so important, and the fact that they can come to you and talk to you, like, that's really amazing.
Yeah, it's important. There's it's hard to have hard conversations, but if I've learned one thing, I'm an Inspiring Champions alumni. I've done all their programs and I'm years out of it, but still work with a business coach from them. And if there's one thing that I've learned from the aspect of being a person, a hairdresser, an owner, a mentor, a coach, a colleague, whatever, by avoiding an uncomfortable conversation or a difficult conversation, you are just walking into a bigger, yuckier, more awful conversation. Like, you really need to be on the pulse of what's going on and have gentle conversations that lead to a positive end result, as opposed to wait until you have this overwhelming situation where it's just so much harder to deal with.
Yeah, absolutely. So my last question for you, do you
Yeah.
have any advice for stylists and salon owners?
I think just be open. Just be open to what people have to say. This is not a time of a one way. I think my advice to hairdressers would be see the opportunities. You know, when my shop closed, I talked to my business coach shortly after, and she said to me, she was just like, this will be a terrible amount of time for you to waste. She's like, you really need to acknowledge the negatives and acknowledge what's really going on. Don't shy away from that, but also take time to see the opportunities. Like, I'm not doing book backs right now, which kind of sucks a little bit. I'm used to doing 16 services a day. Now I'm doing 8. But I got to be honest, my retail's way better. I'm upselling more. I'm spending more time with my clients. I'm more deeply engaged in my relationships with them. And to be honest, my paychecks are the same. My paychecks are the same. So I think that there's an opportunity there for hairdressers to see that. If the beauty of slow, as opposed to the beauty of production, is where we are right now, then lean in and enjoy it, because it won't be forever. I think for owners, I would just say I think this is a great time to really lean in and listen. Listen to what people are saying, positive and negative. Nobody likes to hear anything negative, and it hurts. It really does. But, you know, for every one person who had the courage to come to you and say, hey, I didn't love this, or this wasn't quite right, there's probably 10 or 15 that didn't have the courage to say it to you. And it is your opportunity to learn and to grow and to make it right. And I think the long-term relationship with a client over 10 or 15 years, or the long-term relationship with a team member over 10 or 15 or 20 years, is far worth more than something you had to do for free, or an uncomfortable conversation that you had to have to evolve and develop yourself and develop that relationship.
Yeah,
Yeah,
great advice.
that's all.
That's all.
That's all. I don't know.
Thank you, Dana. Do you have any like closing words for us? Anything else you want to say?
I don't think so. I just think, again, like, I definitely take some time right now for myself. I'm exercising more and exercising alone more, to have my own personal come down time, and to remember that whatever you're in is temporary. And you know, it's always darkest before dawn, right? Sometimes it can feel a little dark, but there is a little light around the corner.
All right. Well, thank you so much for taking the time, Dana. And thank you, everyone, for joining us. If you're not following Wella Canada West, make sure to give us a follow. And that's Dana's salon there, Supernova Salon. And Dana Lyseng Hair is her Instagram. So make sure you guys are following her, because she's got amazing work on her Instagram. And it's
Thanks, Zena. Thanks for having me. Thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you so much. All right. Stay tuned for our next live, everyone. Have a great afternoon. And we'll see you guys soon.
Thank you.
Bye.